and welcome back to my channel. So today I have another Sims 4 speed build for you. And today I decided that I wanted to build in an apartment. And this one is in San Myshuno at 17 Culpepper house. So if you wanted to download this off the gallery, this is where you'd want to place it. And I say that because these apartments are very particular, so that's the one it fits with, which is why I'm telling you. I don't always do that, but just to go ahead and tell you where it belongs. And it is already up on the Sims 4 gallery if you want to download it. And my Sims ID is spicensprinkles. It's all one word and down in the description if you want to see it written out. And to be honest, when I started decorating this apartment, I didn't know where I was going with it. I felt like I wanted to maybe do pastel colors because I was just in the mood for that. So I went to the new tile we just got and I was like, this green is pretty. And so we just kind of went from there. And then this wall tile matched, and then it just kind of turned into what it became. And later on, I ended up deciding that I felt like the person that lived here maybe was a knitter. So someone who maybe sells their stuff on Plopsy, which if you don't play The Sims, basically that's their version of Etsy. So your Sim can actually knit items and sell them like online to people. So I'm thinking maybe that's how they make money, or maybe it's just their hobby, but they have a lot of it, or who knows, maybe even they have a YouTube channel to actually share all of their knitting and knowledge. And that kind of came about later on when I was doing the living room and ended up using some of the like crocheted and knitted like plushes that we have in the game, and I started putting those around and I was like, you know what, I think this personality would match. And I only say that because the nifty knitting pack that we have has to me this kind of like vibe to it. But this is not necessarily, if you are a knitter, this is not necessarily what your place has to look like, but it just kind of made sense in The Sims for me. And I got to use these lovely purple cabinets. I've never used them before, but I was like, the walls are purple, this is absolutely perfect. So I did end up using those, and it's quite a large kitchen given the size of this apartment. So lots of room, and this could fit like 1 or 2 Sims, at least the way I've built it. And then I've decided to also give them like an office space and like a crafting office space, and then as well as a very sizable bathroom, to be honest. And you'll see later on, I only end up putting a bathtub in there because honestly, I love the look of the clawfoot tub for this apartment. And so that's just kind of what I went with. And it's actually kind of funny, when I did the screenshots for this, I picked out a Sim, put him in the lot, and then the welcome wagon came. And honestly, usually I just tell them, no, go away, please stop. But I thought, I only have 1 Sim in this apartment, so who knows, maybe I'd want them to interact with some other Sims. So I let them stay, and so that definitely made for some interesting screenshots. I actually found out that you can have a pillow fight with other Sims, and I was surprised. And I don't even know which pack that came in, or if that's just something they updated in the game. To be honest, I haven't done a lot of gameplay recently since I've been so into building, but you can actually have a pillow fight with another adult Sim, so that does happen. I think I left a screenshot in there for you, so be sure to stick around and check those out. And out of curiosity, just to get to know y'all a little bit better, let me know down in the comments, do you actually play The Sims, or do you just like watching Sims content, or did you stumble across my YouTube channel or this video and you don't know how you got here? Because we all know that happens on YouTube. All of a sudden you end up somewhere that you didn't start. So let me know down below if that's just something you enjoy this content or you actually play, just because I was curious. Because I know that some people just enjoy watching, you know, interior design kind of stuff, building, like decorating. And I mean, honestly, it's very nice to watch. I used to watch like HGTV all the time and really enjoyed it. And I feel like in another life, I was an interior designer. I'm not saying that my interior design sense is amazing, but I really enjoyed watching those shows and doing that in my own home, but I was never formally trained or anything like that. So this is just kind of how I feel like stuff fits together. But this is kind of when it started coming together for me in terms of like what I wanted. I was actually very indecisive like about the couches and the colors I wanted, and trying to make sure that what I started in the kitchen blended into the living room. I really wanted to use like this new couch that came with the high school pack, but it just didn't fit quite right, but I do want to use that at some point. And I liked this rug because it kind of pulled in some of that purple, and then I liked the green on this couch, but the green didn't match quite right. Like it wasn't like blue enough, and it was a little bit dark, and so I do end up swapping it out because it just, I don't know, it didn't feel right. I actually ended up going back to the original couch I had, and I think part of the problem too was this is a very large living room, especially for an apartment that I really only saw like one sim in. And I do end up kind of making it smaller and making like an office area behind the couch. And you'll see what I mean in a second. Because originally I was going to put like a little office space, like nook area right by the front door. But I decided to change my plans. And honestly, I think it became my new plan when I stumbled across the desk from Nifty Knitting, and I was like, why don't we just do this? I've already got these plushes out, like let's just, you know, embrace it and go with it. And I think it makes sense with these lovely curtains that we got in the high school pack because they look kind of like they're knitted or crocheted, and so maybe they made them themselves, which honestly would be very impressive if you make your own curtains, because that is not something that like I can do. And this was me just trying to see if I can figure out a way for this couch to fit. And then I tried to put a dining space in here, and it just, like I said, something didn't feel quite right, which is why then I ended up kind of just ditching the couch and kind of starting over and reimagining that space. And I kind of like to leave this stuff in here because sometimes when I watch speed builds, I'm like, why do some people, like, they just go so fast? Like, then this is, like, how do they know exactly what they want to do when they start? And honestly, they probably don't. But I just leave that stuff in there because I feel like it's nice to see the process. And honestly, there's good ideas even in the stuff that you don't end up using. Like in one of my recent videos, like I was making a pool, and don't get me wrong, I liked the way it looked, but it just didn't fit the aesthetic of the build, so I deleted it out. But I think it's still a good idea and that something that you could use. And honestly, I like to use speed builds when I watch other people's speed builds as like some inspiration and thinking about, like, a lot of times I feel like I'm like, oh, I've never seen that object before in the game. Like, where did that even come from? And I think it's because there's so many objects in this game that I'm like, why have not seen this before? And so it kind of reminds me of the things that are in the game, or I'll see someone use like a particular rug and I'm like, that is gorgeous and I have to use that. And it's definitely not uncommon for me to find a rug and decide that's what I'm going to base a whole entire build off of, or a whole entire room. It definitely happens. And there's a rug in the game that I really love that kind of reminds me of like 60s, 70s. So it makes me want to build like a home from that era and have like a conversation pit and all of that kind of cool stuff, but all because of a rug. And that is determining what I want to build. And it's definitely on the long list of things that I want to build coming up. So trying to decide on which ones I want to build, you know, definitely I feel like I have a lot of options, so it just takes time to actually decide, as well as some of my builds I feel like are a little bit bigger than others and are a little more time consuming. Like the recent one I just did, the traditional family mansion, it took me about 15 hours or so to actually build, decorate, and screenshot and all of that kind of stuff, and it turned out great, but that is a long time versus say this apartment took me about an hour and a half. So a little bit different. So that other build had to be split into two videos, excuse me, versus like this one video. But back to this actual build, because I'm just totally like going on a tangent. I tried to use this bed we got in the high school pack, and again, it has the headboard that matches that couch that I had originally wanted to use. And I thought, you know, it kind of looked like a quilt, like maybe the person actually made this bedspread, so I thought it made sense. But when I was trying to decide what I wanted to put in this room and the colors, it didn't quite fit. And since I envisioned this to be like an adult sim, I didn't necessarily want to leave like rainbows and stars on the bed. And not that there's anything wrong with rainbows and stars, it just wasn't what I envisioned for the sim in this build. So I decided to actually swap it out, and that actually helped a lot. And I was trying to kind of blend in the colors, and those colors just were a little bit softer, I think, than the colors I was using. And the decoration I used on the wall was actually something from the Nifty Knitting Pack, and it's like these crocheted like pieces of art, and I actually sized it up so it's a little bit bigger, and I thought it worked nice on the wall. Again, something maybe that they actually made themselves. And then using this really colorful piece, I was actually so excited I found that. I wasn't sure what I was going to put over this dresser, but I found that and I was like, this is actually really perfect. And then just putting a little bit of clutter on here, because I don't put a ton in the bathroom, so I'm thinking maybe they just keep their stuff in their bedroom. And then I do actually end up getting rid of those, and because I found that little poof, and I was like, I love the colors of this, so I want to use this instead, and kind of making it look like a makeshift footstool for that chair that is in the bedroom. And then for this bathroom, is actually a pretty large bathroom, and it definitely took me a second to actually decide exactly how I wanted to fit everything in there, because I, for whatever reason, decided I knew I wanted like a larger sink area, so not just a singular sink, but to have some extra counter space, and that I wanted to use this clawfoot tub. So then I was trying to decide whether or not I could also squeeze in a separate shower, but I decided to basically just leave it as a bathtub. Also, that opens up the possibility if you wanted to add like a dog to this apartment, you could bathe them, or if you had a toddler, you could bathe them properly, and you have that option. And so I'm just kind of adding a little bit of clutter in here, and I actually really liked that rug. I don't think I've ever used it before, I think because it's kind of that bright color, but I think it actually matched really well in here. And then in terms of this space, this is where originally I was going to put the office space, but then I decided, you know, this would be really cool just for like a built-in cabinet, like for a lot of storage, because I didn't put a ton of storage like in the bedroom or anything. And I thought also like with knitting and all that maybe they needed all of this space to help store all of their supplies and things like that. I know I do a lot of baking, and I have, I mean, a ton of stuff, more stuff than I would ever need, but I just have to have a place to store it. And then I decided to use these little like poofs and create this like custom bench in the entryway as well, like your sim maybe actually sits there and puts their shoes on, like that kind of thing. And then I sized down that poof from the bedroom and used that kind of like a pillow, so like just a way to decorate this space just a little bit. And then I end up just adding a bunch of clutter in there, and then kind of adding a few things on the wall. And I wanted to use that interesting mirror, but when you size it down, it doesn't look quite right, so I had to get rid of that. But I end up using that butterfly picture, which actually the smaller version of that is both in this space and in the living room, so I like the way that looked. So I'm just adding a little bit of extra clutter in here, and then I'm thinking, who knows, maybe they even have their backpack to take all their supplies on different places and things like that. And then I put in some extra yarn pieces here on the wall, and then just a couple of extra decorative pieces from that pack as well, just things that I thought were cute and adorable. Basically they would fit here, and then I thought maybe this is where like this sim would hang their jackets and extra pieces of clothing, things like that. And in this space I just add in a couple of bookshelves so your sim can read and just have some of that organizational space here as well. But we are actually getting towards the end of this build, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more like it. And down in the comments below, let me know if there's any builds that you want to see. So I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye, everybody.